All right, welcome to the first edition of the Semi Pro Show. I am your host, Deone Williams, and I'm joined by my lovely co host, Meg DeTusa. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, excited.
We are so excited to get this thing up and running. I'm sure many of you guys would be asking, why are we even doing this? Well, obviously, we both love Semi Pro, and we want to provide a unique platform to discuss tournaments that is player friendly.
Yeah, we've been talking about doing this since last year. Dion obviously has been recording videos of games for years and years. And when Semi Pro started, we would rewatch the games, send clips to each other, and talk on the phone for hours about Semi Pro or just kickball in general. So the idea of the Semi Pro show was born. And we wanted to give a dedicated space to bring players in to discuss this very special format that LI Kick provides as a way to breathe life back into the community and share in the magic that is semi pro.
Yep. What we have for the show today is our recap of the last tournament. We have some interviews as well, even a quick technique video that I did. We'll also get into what happened in the draft and what our predictions are for the next tournament. So let's get into the recap. Pool 1 was Riptide, Black Knights, and Boot Camp. Pool 2 was Orbit, Rough Riders, and Crimson Lions. Now the pools are determined by ELO. The rating carries over, and that kind of changes the matchups every tournament. So, first off, what we like to do is give a one word observation on each team. So, I will start first. First team is Riptide, and my word is collapse. So, Riptide being the champions of May, I felt like they had a expectation to perform well, and unfortunately, there was a lot of late game miscues. For example, against Boot Camp, we were going into the last inning up 2-0, and we had some mental mistakes. We've had some poor fielding adjustments, so it ended up Boot Camp coming out on top 3-2. Now, I believe this can be a learning experience for Riptide. It lets us know what we need to work on and what we need to kind of prevent from happening. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and I think going forward, um, we'll improve on that.
Yeah, I think that with Riptide and the word that you chose, collapse, right? It's really drives home the point that semi pro could be anybody's game. So you have returning champs who did not make it to playoffs. It really could be anybody's tournament, which is the beauty of semi pro. For me, I chose the word hesitancy. This was something that I had noticed when rewatching the games through your channel, my channel, and Joe Mark's channel. Riptide has a team that is loaded with talent and experience through and through. No one can argue or debate that. I think that they're the most stacked team with the most, consistent talent. Very few weak points or weak linkages. But what I saw in the last tournament was missing clear direction, which resulted in some hesitancy. Like I saw some players that I've played with, some players who are experienced and talented and skilled, veteran players who just seemed hesitant on defense. They were looking around to see who would get the ball, who would secure the out, not going for a ball, not laying out for a ball, not reacting quickly or moving quickly on defense. So that was something that I had noticed, some hesitancy that could have been from clear direction, knowing where to put the ball before the ball is kicked. There was a few instances where after someone has the ball in their hands, it's like, well, what do I do with this? And in semi-pro, you got to know well before what the plays are. So that was my word, hesitancy.
Yeah, totally agree across the board. I feel like we're kind of referring to very similar things. I hopefully, like I said, we'll kind of make those observations as a team and work on that. And yeah, that's pretty much an agreement. All right,
Yeah, I'm sure you
next.
guys will bounce back.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, next is the Black Knights, your team. So my word, my observation was mentality. Um, what I've noticed is that Black Knights has a strong, almost like a expectation of winning mentality. I think that speaks to a lot of the confidence in the players on the team, a lot of confidence in each other on the team, and that just leads to like crazy resilience, right? So like no matter what the situation is, that kind of trust in the ability of the players is going to kind of show and basically allows the team never to be out in any game.
Yeah, I definitely agree being on the team and playing. My word was instinct, which kind of piggybacking off of what you're saying. We have this like advanced instinct that sometimes almost feels clairvoyant, where we have the ability to see and anticipate plays, events, or information beyond the normal sensory perception. And that just comes with how skilled and experienced our players are. We did vibe a bit more this tournament with trusting each other, communicating with each other, suggesting things. I was suggesting different things with the lineup and with adjustments that I felt needed to be made going into the playoffs. And we do have that trust and again that natural instinct. There was a few plays where we were picking up the slack for each other and just coming together using our natural winning instinct to prevail. So that's my word, instinct.
Yeah, agree. It's funny that we're agreeing on so many things, but I'm sure we'll disagree on some other things. But can't disagree here. It's very well said. Moving on to the third team in the pool, boot camp. So my observation in general were females. Now, what I mean by that initially is that, it seems like there's a constant change of females. I believe they've been picking out of the pool a few players. So it's really hard to kind of, say like what their girl situation is because I don't know if they've been full yet. Um, but the girls who have been playing, I know noticed that they're playing very safe. This can be good and bad. Part of the bad is that it kind of leaves your team to be very predictable on offense. Whether you have a guy on one, and you're putting the ball out there and playing to the strength of a male bump block. Now you're exposing second base. So I think that that's part of the reason why I don't particularly like to always be safe with girls. But you do get consistency, so that's probably a positive to it. I believe that they can use like another dynamic lady to kind of mix it up a bit in their lineup, because they are very top heavy with guys. And it's not to say that the girls are bad, but I'm missing that dynamic female in that lineup.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely have ladies that like play their part as a lady player, as a chick, as a woman. Like a lot of times, we have certain roles to play and we fulfill them. That's kind of the culture of kickball. But I agree with you, having someone who's more dynamic coming in and not having so many changes, like having a full team, not having to draft from the supplemental. Um, I agree with that. And I think my word is overdue because I think they're overdue to win for the past, I would say, 2 years. Last year, they really impressed me with some recruits that they had. And then this year, I just feel as though they have a lot of talent. Like they have so many stud guys, from Dennis to John Bell to Kenny to Kyle to Barbour. You got Amon, you got Baba, Brendan from Brooklyn. Like, they are overdue to win. But I personally think that Kyle's preference and his captaining style for maybe preserving some feelings is holding him back, or not making some changes or adjustment. I also agree that he could make some changes with some of his ladies, whether it's through trades, um, or just figuring something else out, or even he's had ladies not show up consistently. I'm not sure keeping those people on your roster is worth it if they're not committed. Like that costs the team. So making some hard decisions like that. The decision is not easy, but you know it's either make some changes, pull together, continue to be just a little bit short of winning, which I know they're frustrated by. They're a great team. So
Yeah, and just to add to that, shout out to Brooklyn, by the way. Where the Brooklyn girls at? Like, let's see some more female Brooklyn representation, and what better team to join that than boot camp, right? I mean, I definitely want. I know that there's some good ladies in Brooklyn. I just wish they would. I wish they would come out.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so Orbit. Uh, Here, my word is promising. Um, oh no, that is not my word. My word is actually unified, but that's okay. So unified. So there's one voice coming from their captain, Gio. Gives them a clear messaging, which I think is a huge benefit when everyone's on the same page, everyone understands the assignment. But I also believe that could be somewhat limiting because having one person do basically everything, all the adjustments, I think it could be a benefit for having another pair of eyes, maybe another opinion. Maybe people aren't as comfortable yet to kind of step up to give that input, but I do know that there is a limitation from having everything come from just one mind. As good as a mind that might be, I just think that there's just so much going on in a typical game, especially when it comes down to a close game, that you kind of want to see someone step up. Maybe co-captain, maybe Brand fits that role. I'm not too sure yet, but I think it's always good to have a captain and a co-captain. But they've obviously done very well. So what they're doing, maybe they'll just keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah, I agree. And we know that because we often play the role of captain, co-captain. You can't be everywhere at once. So if Gio's on two, who's, telling people either where to kick, or, Gio at third, he does command the field very well on defense from where he's at third base, or just everywhere. You blink and Gio's somewhere else. He's that fast. But it could help to have more delegation and more leadership that is spread out, so it's not just all on one person, but everybody saying the same message. And my word was friendship. So, being that Orbit was able to come in with a core, they were able to choose 6 friends to play with. And there's a lot of advantages to that in terms of vibe and comfort and familiarity. They then drafted players that they were friendly with, and I believe that those drafted players would play differently if they were on other teams. So I think that he, chose his core well, obviously, but then even beyond that drafting, I definitely think the people on his team would play differently elsewhere. There is that comfort, that familiarity, that friendship that's very strong. But on the flip side of that, I wonder if that would stifle Gio in making changes to the team. If he wanted to make any changes, if he wanted to make cuts or trades, would that friendship piece stand in the way of that? And I just admire their friendship.
Okay, so I mean I actually agree too. I do wonder that if there are any changes to make, we'll see. Um, I don't know if because friendship, because I think because they all play dodgeball together, right? So I'm sure that they really have a strong bond because they play multiple sports together. And that's gonna be tough to make a change because it goes deeper than kickball, I'm sure.
The 3 people live together, so
There you go.
on the
Yeah.
team,
Okay.
nothing's more intimate than that.
Okay. The next team is going to be Rough Riders. My word is promising. And promising because we all know that they have a lot of new young players that I feel like they have a very high ceiling. So I'm really interested to see um, as they become more known to everyone how people adjust to them, or if people do need to adjust to them, right? Offensively and defensively, they have, you know, probably the three fastest catchers ever assembled on a team. They have some like unknown, like I think Connor is relatively unknown throughout the island. I know because I played with him how much promising he can be. So I think that we'll see how teams adjust if they need to adjust. They just come off a finals appearance, so I think that kind of puts the semi-pro league on notice that they're actually here to compete under the guidance of Jimmy. So I think that just kind of proves that they're going to be a threat.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with that as well. I think that's a great observation of the team. I think that they're another team that's just like this close to pulling it all together and getting a win for the entire tournament. My team for them was loyalty. Because we are coming up to the third tournament, and Rough Riders have had some close games, losing semis in both tournaments. And I'm just wondering if there are any changes that are going to be made. Jimmy is known for his loyalty as a semi pro captain. He's one of the only players I know who can make champions out of unsuspecting players. So I wonder if he plans to do that again this year, or if he will make some very necessary moves via trade or cuts to make his team stronger. Like you brought up a very good observation. He has three catchers on his team. And while these catchers are playing other positions, that is their preferred position. He also is lacking some like strong power kicking that he had last year. So I'm wondering, what his approach will be, and if he'll continue to remain loyal to who he's drafted, or if he'll make some moves to make his team stronger.
So you're saying he should maybe trade one of his catchers for a big boot? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that he should do whatever his heart desires, whatever is in his heart, because he can make it happen. Whether he does that, I'm not going to give him any advice because who am I? Jimmy Hen makes it happen. That should be his his logo and his slogan. He makes it happen. So whatever he decides to do, he'll pull through with it. But I'm just wondering if he's going to keep some people to the end. Like last year, he kept some people to the end and we did it, right? But feel like maybe if he made some trades or adjustments sooner, maybe
Yeah,
we could have won a few before.
yeah. I think honestly, I think loyalty is overrated in semi-pro. I think that he was able to win because I mean, just look at the what happened last year with Rough Riders. I mean, I just don't think loyalty holds that much weight. I think winning is the ultimate goal. So I think what needs to be sacrificed should be sacrificed. That's just my opinion. Everyone's welcome to have their own opinion on that, but I believe we won last year from the moves that he made, and not necessarily the loyalty of his players. But we can have a different opinion on that. But moving on to the last team, Crimson Lions, my word was injuries. Who is healthy on this team? Uh, just dealing with injuries like sucks, but it is a part of the game. Some of these players are pretty good, but like I don't know if they're gonna be able to play up to their ability because of that. Sometimes there's injuries and there's being hurt. So I'm not really too sure if people are hurt or actually injured, but I do know that I just seen him the other day. Mike Campos, he just had surgery, so that's a big time loss for their team. I'm also a former Rough Rider, so yeah, so like they're gonna have to make changes with players coming in to kind of fill those roles from those injuries, or maybe changing some positions around to kind of cover up what they're lacking due to injury. But they need to do something so they can start changing the narrative of their team.
Yeah, where that is where my word adjustments comes in. um, because I believe that they have to adjust from league play mentality to semi-pro mentality, and that involves taking a captaining approach, which reflects more effective strategy regardless of feelings. It's a hard move to make, but it's a necessary move to make. This might include cutting people, sitting and subbing people, trading people who won't cooperate with what the team needs. Um, making some necessary adjustments on the field to the batting, to the team as a whole.
Definitely. Okay, so that wraps up the team recap. Let's get into some of the things during the tournament, like the video review. So the video review was implemented this tournament. It was definitely polarizing um, before. I think a lot of people were very hesitant of it being effective or us having enough time to actually perform this without impacting the game. And I believe, it actually did work. I believe we didn't take too much time to complete the review. Um, do you feel like the video reviews were effective?
Yes, I think overall they were effective. I think that there were some unclear understandings about them, which, of course, improvements can be made to anything. Now that we've done it, I think that revisiting the rules and regulations around the video replay, because it was 3 minutes to find the clip. That's per turf wars, and that's what Sal had put down. But everyone was saying 3 minutes in total. Start a timer. Start a timer.
Mm,
So that was incorrect. Not to say that we went over the 3 minutes anyway, but it's a misunderstanding of what was put forward, and I think maybe it probably should be amended to just 3 minutes in total. Finding the clip is very simple. From my experience, it was my camera being used, so I was the person in control. But I think firmer parameters around the 3 minutes, around who's able to view, the person whose camera it is, and then the two captains and the umpire. But I thought it was overall a success. And not only do I think, from my own opinion, it was a success, but watching the videos and seeing the plays and understanding the calls and the outcomes, everyone seemed to agree with the new outcomes. People were amicable with each other. There weren't arguments or disagreements. Nobody was using video challenges to waste time. That was a big thought. Everyone was like, oh, people are just going to challenge just to get an advantage and be unsportsmanlike. There was none of that. My only other thing that I would say about it was that, like, I have now personally I have a understanding of a mastery of how to get a clip how I want it to. I wasn't given enough time in my first video challenge against Rough Riders. I was not given enough time, and the umpire kind of gave up. He's like, "Well, I don't see it." He kept walking away, and it was the wrong call. So I think, again, just better parameters around, you know, the regulations and rules, and giving enough time, not having the captains kind of push their way through and bully their way through. I do think or persuade, I'll use that word instead, persuade what it is and influence what it is that they want, being fair, being sportsmanlike, objective, and not trying to say, all right, he said it, he saw it, let's move along, like giving the full time and being sportsmanlike through it. But I thought that it went really well, and I thought that teams were satisfied with the results, which is what's most important. It didn't delay games. It didn't cause arguing or fighting. It wasn't misused in an unsportsmanlike way. Those are all wins.
yeah. Right. There. The rules said that you had 3 minutes to produce a video. But I believe it should be. I think it should be 3 minutes to do the entire review. Um, that needs
Yes,
to be
agreed.
changed, of course, because as the way it's written, you have 3 minutes to produce it, and then going from there. But in turf wars, even though there is a time limit, we're a lot more pressed with time in our semi-pro format. So I would like to see, and maybe the 3 minutes is not the correct number. Maybe you want to do like a total of 4 minutes, 5 minutes total. But I think that needs to be clarified. I think it needs to be kind of considered and voted on. I also would like to see a guideline to for the umpires for overturning a call, right? So like there can be a play that I believe that is too close to call, and just like in regular sports, it's heavily the call on the field is weighed more than overturning. And typically, when they make an overturned call, they use the words clear and obvious. And I think we need to decide if that is what the parameters we want to use to dictate whether the play is overturned or not. I don't know what the answer is to that, but I think things need to be cleared and in writing. Okay, so, and I think we all agree that it was a good idea that we're doing this video review. I think everyone can see that. I like also the fact that now it's forcing teams, captain teams, to produce video who normally wouldn't record games. Now you're seeing people do that. And I think that's always going to help the league and push it forward. Okay, moving on to
Right.
a very controversial topic, as always, umpiring. So I just kind of want to talk about what our observations of the umpiring as a whole was. Did anything stand out? Good things, bad things? I'll go first. I think that the overall umpiring was okay. Not great. I think it was better last tournament, but I think there wasn't many like arguments on calls, and maybe that was a product of actually having video review. But I do like the fact that we had it was Dan and Chris umping for the first time, and they didn't seem completely lost and intimidated. Now, I believe that some of them could get better with maybe positioning themselves to make calls because every call does matter, and I would like to see an umpire give me 100% effort, just like the players are when they're playing. Also, what I did see though is Dan, for instance, had a lot of confidence in his calls, which I think is always good to hear as well. And Hopper is always just solid. I think he is pretty much the epitome of a semi-pro umpire is. Um, do you have any thoughts on the umpiring?
I do. I do. I thought that the umpiring was good. I think that for their first time umpiring semi-pro of all places, that Chris and Dan did well. Um, Hopper, of course, is always he's great. He's confident. He's fair. He's easy to talk to. Um, yeah, I think that running out to see a better view or a better angle would be helpful. That was a piece of feedback that I feel like even the most seasoned umpires could always hear. Not everyone does that, and I think that should be the standard: is moving on the field to get a better vantage point rather than staying in one spot. And Dan do that sometimes. There was a few plays he almost. There was one play where he like moved out of the way on the field and like fell back on his butt because he um, was maneuvering out of the way of the play, but he was like out there and in it. But so yeah, I think that they did a good job for the job they were given, which is a very tough job. Wasn't too many arguments or disagreements. Again, that could be because the video call now we could now or the video challenge, excuse me, where you could say, you know what, I'm going to challenge that. Was it worth the challenge? And it really allows people to not, you know, people want to complain. Sometimes it's the nature of sports, right? But I saw on camera a few times people on different teams saying, would it be worth the challenge? And their team being like, no. So it's like, okay, they're getting feedback from their team that no, you were out, or no, that person was safe.
Mhm.
So we're being a bit more objective and honest with each other than
Right.
complaining to complain. So I thought that that was positive. And yeah, I think that they did well. Um, Overall, confident in their calls. So I hope that they continue to participate. and get better, improve as, with practice comes perfection. So I hope to see them again.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, that is our recap of the May semi pro.
What an informative recap. Next, we're going to move into our first interview. She is a captain of one of the franchises, and we're looking forward to hearing what she has to say.
All right, welcome to our interview section of the show. We have a very special guest. She is Alex Gallo of the Crimson Lions. It's her first year captaining the team in semi pro. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So, Alex, getting right into it, because I was a semi pro captain once upon a time.
Oh yeah.
And I've noticed, after being a captain, I look at other players differently, like maybe evaluating their talent a little more specifically, just for the idea of maybe them joining my teams. So my question to you is, are you looking at players differently throughout the leagues when you play?
Oh, of course. Like I play 3 nights a week this season, and each night I'm seeing different players, and I'm like, this person could be a good left fielder if I needed a left fielder, or if like I need a new third base now that I traded Joe Marv, so looking around like, oh, this person could actually be a decent third baseman for semi-pro. So by being able to play in multiple leagues a night and seeing different people throughout the week, I'm able to be like, never noticed this person. Now I'm looking at them and I'm like, that might be a good person to think of for semi-pro.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bringing people into the mix is important. That's how, we keep growing and expanding, right? So I like when captains do that and start to get that creative eye while they play.
Oh, yes.
My question is, being a semi-pro captain is new for you, and semi-pro captaining is very different than league play. What has been most surprising, rewarding, and challenging part of being a semi-pro captain?
I'll start with. So wait, you said it was surprising, rewarding, challenging, right?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Okay. So most rewarding is definitely like my team is very cool with whatever. Like if I tell Jason that he's gonna go play shortstop, even though he prefers to be outfield, he'll go and do that. Like I had him playing that a little bit this previous tournament, and he did really well in that position. One thing that's been a little challenging is when I originally drafted my team, I had already picked out certain people to go into certain positions. Like some people, I was aiming for them to be in the outfield, and then they were kind of giving me a difficult time about it since either they just weren't feeling well, they wanted to stay more in the infield for a couple games and then see what would happen. So trying to be flexible and be like, all right, now this person who's supposed to be, let's say like my center fielder, is now either pitching or playing shortstop. Now I kind of have to reevaluate where everyone else goes and how to reorganize the puzzle. So that was definitely something challenging. Surprise is kind of just like the aspect of the captain's group chat, of kind of just seeing how a lot of things develop through there. Like this previous tournament, how we used the challenges now as a brand new thing for semi-pro. How that was kind of like a last minute, like, oh, like we played Friday night and we had literally talked about it the morning of. So that was something definitely surprising a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely understand what it's like to be in that captain's chat. It is quite
Never
an
know
experience.
what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah. So, something that I'm very curious about is how did you come up with the Crimson Lion? What does that mean? Is there a meaning behind that, or what's that about?
For me, in the beginning, I kind of didn't know what the team name was gonna be, and then I wanted to gear towards something that wasn't like kind of something similar to what people had already put out there. So, like for example, like Jimmy's with the Rough Riders. So I didn't want to do anything that had something to do with that. or like Riptide. I didn't really want to do anything related to like water. And so I was like, okay, I'm a very big fan of like lions and whatnot. So we'll start off with that. And then I just thought the word crimson just kind of came out as like a really cool like play off of the color red. And then also like for a lot of people who watched like Fairly Odd Parents, I always thought of like the Crimson Chins. I was like, oh, that was kind of cool. It's kind of tied into that a little bit. So that was kind of where I led off with Crimson Lions, and then it just kind of worked.
It's cool.
Cool. Of you coming up with your team name, what motivated or drove you to want to put a team together and be considered for a platform like Semi-Pro?
There are a couple of different reasons. Like I've played Semi-Pro now for all the years that we've started creating it. My first year, I was on the Cavalry with Joe D as my captain, and then the year after that, previous year, I was originally on boot camp for a little bit, and then ended up getting cut, and then did a tournament with Black Knights, and I was like, oh, it would be really interesting to be on the captain side, because now that I've played for 2 seasons, all right, now I can take the input that I have from those 2 seasons and incorporate it towards being a captain, getting more involved. Like right now, all of us captains are trying to figure out different ways on enticing people and getting to sign up. That's been definitely a big issue.
That's a huge hurdle. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, it's a huge hurdle. Like this year, a lot of people, it was more so like some people again are either just trying to play with their friends, which yes, that's a nice thing about league kickball, but that's not something we have to think about for semi-pro. Semi-pro is you want to be a competitive person, you want to play, like you should be okay with playing on any team in semi-pro. And so that's just a big thing that we've all been trying to work on a little bit. And like for me, I felt like being a captain meant like I kind of had control and a part of like a voice for semi-pro. So that was one of like the biggest reasons why I wanted to put together a team. Like someone on my team right now, Maggie, had never played semi-pro, and now she's a part of it. So the fact that by my team getting voted in, that was already a brand new player added into semi-pro.
And I will say that joining semi-pro, getting involved in the process, I think it helps you become a better player a lot faster than playing regular league play, for sure. Yeah. So pretty much last one for me. So I believe that everyone who plays semi-pro has like a welcome to semi-pro moment, right? Where you kind of have that self-realization that wow, this is a lot different, or like a really good play that you made, and you go, you know what, I belong here. So that being said, what was your welcome to semi-pro moment?
Ooh. Are we talking about this season
It
or
can
like
be
when
it
I
can be
first
from the
started?
first year or second, just your overall semi-pro experience.
My welcome to semi-pro was definitely, I think Joe D had me at pitcher one of the first tournaments, and I forgot who was up. It was a male that was up, and they just nailed it right pretty much to my face, and I was able to catch it. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I saw there was someone on first who kind of went to the halfway point, turned through it, made that double play to end the game. And I was like, ooh, interesting. Okay, like, yeah, no, that was kind of like my semi-pro moment. Like, those, like, the adrenaline rushing and pumping through after making those kind of plays. I was like, yeah, no, this is something I'm very much enjoying doing.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, there's nothing else like it, right? The how fast paced it is, just the stakes are high, the games are short, everything matters, and then your body just does things that you wouldn't have the capacity to do during league play because it's more leisurely, right? So
Oh, yes.
I definitely
It
agree
really
with that.
kind of shows, like, your instinct.
Mhm.
That's where, like, really brings it
Yeah.
out more.
100%. So I just have 2 more questions for you. They kind of go hand in hand. So, what do you think the missing piece, strategy, or approach that would cause your team to win moving forward? Is there any one thing you've identified as like this thing, whether it's offense, defense, whether it's strategy, whether it's something that needs to be done more or less, that's the missing piece overall for you guys to pull through? Because you've had close games. It's like you're one thing away. Do you identified what that is?
I think for our team right now, it's kind of figuring out, which we're planning on hoping to fix this next tournament, is the catcher rover kind of area, heading down towards like that area. Our first tournament, that really just didn't work out well. Tyler felt like he did not have enough space to be able to cover more ground because our rover was playing so far up, even though we continuously told him to move farther back. And then this most recent tournament, our rovers, a lot of girls who were bunting, our rover pick up the ball and start to chase them, even though we kind of countlessly reminded them, like, listen, just get it back to ones, and that way we can move on farther with the play. So hopefully, like I reiterated that, like, we're working on practicing that a little more throughout practices. Hopefully by that point, that's really kind of the part that we're trying to fix. Otherwise, I think our offense is really good. Our defense, like this past tournament, like we've tied Rough Riders now both tournaments. I think we're really close to beating Orbit this time. And then yes, I know boot camp was a little difficult, but that one central field, I felt like that day was the most difficult field to play on out of all those fields. I don't know if you guys had thoughts on that part.
No, definitely. I think the scores kind of reflect that. I don't think there was any like blowouts, or I think they were all really tight games, and that's how it's always going to be. There's going to be the wind direction is going to change on which field, so that just adds to another element of like the unpredictability of semi-pro format. Like you have to be able to adjust when there's huge tailwind or headwind. Where am I going to put my players? Who's got the stronger arm? What direction they're throwing against the wind or with the wind. So all that does come into play when you're adjusting your defensive lineup, and I think that what also keeps things very fresh.
Oh yeah.
I heard that you used a word that Deanne and I love, practice. Are you guys holding practices? Are you practicing? Do you plan to practice?
So we're planning on practicing. I'm hoping right now we're trying to figure out, especially with this draft coming up pretty soon, with the players that we hope to pick up from there, kind of organizing um, a couple of practices throughout the week. I know a lot of us live near and play near, like Ronkonkoma. Some of us are near Huntington. So even if it's kind of like a couple of different practices a night, just going over certain drills, and like again, like the rover drill is probably a big thing I would probably want to focus on with my girls. So
Yeah,
that's what we're hoping to start doing soon.
So I don't know if you're planning on playing or practicing on the Ronkonkoma fields, but what we've been doing, which I think everyone should be doing, is looking at high school fields for turf, because you don't want to practice on grass. You want to practice on the fields that you're going to be playing on. So turf is definitely more beneficial to practice on. So I would suggest anyone who's looking to practice across the island, look for those high school fields for turf, because they're open to the public, and most of the time, there's no, leagues or teams playing on them. So that's something to definitely take note of when you're looking to figure out when to practice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go to Google Maps and I'll turn on satellite view and I'll just look for what looks like a turf field because it looks very different than a natural grass field. And we found Sachem, Walt Whitman, like we find these different places that are near some of the other sites we go to, like Ronkonkoma, Sachem's right there, Walt Whitman for Huntington or Breezy. So that's great. I love that you guys are planning to practice because it really makes the difference. The stakes are high, and not practicing will cost any team. So we are big proponents of practicing. Um, and my last question is, what is something that is going well for your team right now?
I think for us, our communication and our teamwork are working really well. I feel like that's a very important aspect with semi-pro, is having your team being able to jive and work together. I know there's been teams where player A might have an issue with playing with player B, and then that could also affect a team. So that's the one thing I will have to say with my team is we don't have issues with each other. we're able to talk, communicate, and work through pretty much anything together. So I do think that that's something that's working really well with us. And again, until they're just finalizing those, like tweaking those little things.
Right. Which hopefully you'll do during practice, right? So sounds like you've got a good grip moving forward, and that's what it's supposed to be, right? A lot of people misunderstand with semi-pro, like, sure, winning the standalone months feels great and is important, but the grand finale in October, we're supposed to be shaping our teams up for October. So it sounds like that's where you're headed towards. So,
oh yeah,
Sure. Well, I think that's pretty much all that I needed to ask. This is very informative. Thank you so much for joining us. You are our first guest, so you will be enshrined in the Semi-Pro Show history books.
awesome.
Anything last words, Meg?
No, just thank you so much for being here and for joining us. I chose you because I was like, I'm sure people want to hear from Alex. Like people, I'm sure are speculating, or people I'm sure are forming their own conclusions. And when we were talking about guests to have on, BJ is one direction we could have went. That man will talk to anything and anyone for a long amount of time. And so I was like, you know what? I want to hear from the captain. I want to hear from Alex. I think that people hearing her perspective and where she's at now, it's been 2 tournaments. Like, what direction are we going in? And so thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us.
Of course. Very happy that you guys invited me to be a part of this.
All right. All right. We'll see you on the field.
All right. See you guys in the field.
On the field.
Wow, that was an informative interview. Okay, so let's get into my portion of the show. I like to call it the ahead of the game. And what this is basically a video of something that I want to, a technique that I want to highlight. I know a lot of veterans might know these things, but I know that there's a lot of newer players that might be able to pick up something that they've never learned before, or just maybe kind of confirm what they're doing is right. Here we go.
Eyes on the ball, take your mark and stand tall. Plant your foot hard, make that perfect contact call. Explode through the plate with a powerful force. Set your kick on an unstoppable course. Repetition builds the muscle memory. Unleash your full athletic energy. Master the fundamentals, ignite the flame. Prepare for the challenge ahead of the game.
So for this video, I did focus on ground balls to usually second baseman. I see this is a play that happens a lot, and I want to make sure that players who are making this play are properly grounding, fielding the ground ball, throwing the ball to the first baseman in the most efficient amount of time. So here is the video.
All right, in this video, we're going to focus on fielding ground balls to first base. This is going to be very important because a lot of times balls are becoming quick and you need to be able to get the out at every one. So the point of emphasis for this technique is broken down into 3 steps. First step will be to get your body into an athletic position. So when you're fielding, you want to make sure that you're slightly bent, you're on your toes, and you're ready to receive the ball. Step 2 would be approaching the ball. So if the ball is coming at you, you don't want to wait to receive the ball. You want to attack the ball. So I want to approach the ball and pick the ball up. And step 3 would be throwing the ball. Now, if we're in the infield, the way you should be throwing the ball is a chest pass. So here we go. Step 1, I'm in my athletic position, ready to receive the ball whether it comes left or right or shallow. Step 2, approach the ball, pick the ball up. Step 3, use your body and throw a chest pass to your baseman.
Okay, so that was the ahead of the game technique video, and I must say your technique as a second baseman slash bump block was flawless. I think a lot of women can learn how to field that ball properly, like you do.
Yeah, thank you. It's definitely a confidence builder to practice it because ground balls, they come at you fast, they can be unpredictable, they can bounce up at you. So the more that you practice approaching the ball quickly, getting it into your hands and accurately throwing it to the base, the better and more confident you'll feel in making those plays. And they're crucial plays and they got to be done quick. So the practice helps for sure.
Totally agree. Okay, so moving along, let's get into our second interview. Now, this second interview is a player that played with us in the first year of semi-pro. I know that he had a long journey in semi-pro, and I'm really interested to hear what he has to say. He is Steve Somma. All right, so we have a special guest joining us by the name of Steve Somma. Somma, he is a, I would say, semi-pro veteran. This is his third semi-pro that he's partaking in. Um, right now, he's currently in the pool, but I believe there's a draft soon, so that could definitely change coming up. Welcome to this show, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm gonna get right into it because we have a couple questions. So I'll start this. So, how has semi-pro changed you both as mentally and physically as a player?
Great question. So, mentally, I find myself being a lot more confident, you know, whether it's playing in semi pro or just playing in the leagues in general. I find myself just, doing a lot of, positive self talk and being around semi pro definitely, you know, adds to that. And then just like on the physical side, playing in semi pro and playing with the best of the best kind of, forces you to play your best. And so that's really, helped me physically, just become as good of a player as I can be. And it's a constant, the job's never done. It's a constant, continuous improvement.
Yeah, I honestly believe like kickball is like 70% mental. Uh, because like I just see so many like just mental battles where there's like adjustments going on depending on each batter that comes up, or like making the right play in like the last second moment, making a split second decision whether to tag up or slide. So like I think like a lot of that stuff is just mental.
I completely agree. I mean, I see so many people, going up to the plate, and myself included, in the past. It's not an easy thing, but you could kind of just like see it in the body language. Like, they've already accepted that they're going to get out. And I feel like that has a big impact. Of course, that mental mindset, will impact how you perform. And if you could kind of,
Mhm.
shift that into a more positive, like, hey, I'm a good player. I've been here before. I think it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I agree. I actually do the positive affirmations and positive self talk you're talking about when I'm at the plate. I swear, I did it twice at the last tournament. I was like, I'm gonna kick it to shortstop and I'm gonna get on, and I did.
Yeah,
So
that's great.
I
I
definitely
like
believe
just
in it.
started.
It definitely works.
Okay. Yeah, I like just started doing it too. I actually saw like an Instagram video of like, like Cristiano Ronaldo or like LeBron James, and like you kind of see them, they'll kind of like mutter to themselves, like whether they're about to shoot a free throw, they're about to, kick a free kick, they'll kind of say to themselves, like, cross the barrier, same as always. For me, it's normal to get on base.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I'm gonna ask you the next question, which is,
Okay.
who did you think was going to pick you up, and were you surprised it was the Black Knights? What were your
Yes.
thoughts there being in the pool? Like, where did you think you were gonna end up?
Yeah. So I was like 99% sure that I was going to go to the Crimson Lions. A little birdie, kind of told me that that was most likely where I was going to end up. And so I was fully expecting that. And so when Rich Zappa messaged me, I was like, holy shit, this is great. Yeah, definitely was not expecting to come to the Black Knights.
Now the way the draft order for permanent drafts is done by ELO in reverse, meaning like the lowest ELO gets the first pick. But I believe the draft for the supplemental pool is a little bit different. So like for that, for people who are in the pool, you're not always going to get picked up by the lowest ELO team. I'm not exactly sure what the order is, but it's not always the bottom team gets first pick for supplemental. So that does kind of mix things up as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So my next question. Now you've played on my team in year 1. I know you've played on Vengeance and Wolfpack in year 2. What, if any, differences would you say you've noticed between different teams?
Sure. Yeah, so I'll start with your team. Playing with you guys on the first year, rather. We are them.
Shout
I
out.
feel you as a lead. What'd you say?
It's a shout out to them.
Shout out to them, the OGs. Yeah, so I feel like I view you as a very confident leader, and having a confident leader kind of exudes confidence to the rest of the team, and kind of like we said earlier, like could really change your mindset and ultimately change, the outcome of how things go. Um, not to bash, any of my other leaders, like TJ, I thought was also a great captain, but just kind of there wasn't this same kind of feeling like that we could win. Like there was kind of this already like acceptance that like, all right, guys, we're kind of like, the bottom of the barrel. Let's just kind of go out there and see what happens. So I feel like, and just to expand on that, actually being a part of the Black Knights in this past tournament, big shout out to Rich Zappa, because I feel like he really knows what he's doing. He has his ducks in a row. He knows what his players' strengths are. His kind of, pregame talks are kind of, like right to the point, and just a little more like confidence in the way he kind of carries himself.
Yeah, that's confidence is definitely important as a leader. I know people like to kind of joke about like kickball being like a joke sport or whatever, but a lot of the same qualities that strong leaders have in other sports. It doesn't matter what you're playing. It's that mentality, that aura, as the young kids say. It's definitely there, and you definitely can notice when a leader has it and when they don't.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Yeah. You've had quite different experiences, so you're a pretty well-rounded player at this point. I'm excited to see where you end up next.
Me too. I mean, I kind of have a goal. I'm like, all right, maybe I could kind of go around to all the teams and maybe win a chip with each and every one of them.
That would be very interesting and a very cool mission. That kind of leads into my next question. So part of the question asking is the education piece, right? So for everyone listening, in semi-pro, we have the 2 drafts, right? The first is a permanent draft where players are picked up and remain on the team until they're cut, until they drop, or until they're traded. The second draft is the supplemental, which happens the Wednesday before the Friday night tournament and means that you're a temporary player, usually subbing in for someone who can't make it to that specific tournament, but will. So how does it feel winning a tournament as a supplemental player? Like that's, I think, a unique experience to come onto a team, add to a team, win, and then not play again. Like what are your thoughts? What are your feelings there?
Yeah, so there's some mixed feelings there, of course, right? I mean, primarily, of course, very happy to win, very excited. But then kind of after the night ends and you kind of have to leave the group chat, you're like, man, like that was kind of like short-lived. Like, I got to get the victory, I got a medal, but like I'm not truly like part of the team. So there's part of me that kind of like, hurts a little bit. I'm like, oh man, I wish I could kind of, be like have a more permanent feeling with that team.
It's a resume builder though, right? So like, you get to play that final game where everyone's looking at you or the team. So I think that is like a boost in your like resume. I mean, people get to see you play, so I think that it's going to help anyone who is a supplemental player that helps that team make the finals. So definitely is a good thing.
Right.
So but I do understand the mixed feelings because yeah, you're happy, but you're not. You're still like going home alone. It's like
Exactly.
you're
Going home.
yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I know you're not a new player, or you've been involved for a while, but I do want to kind of put this out there. What kind of advice would you give to newer players to get themselves involved in semi-pro? Like, what should they do to get noticed on a team?
So I guess if you're not in semi-pro already, I mean, you really just kind of gotta get out there and into the league plays. I mean, you gotta put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to, if you might know a veteran or two, don't be afraid to reach out to them. Say, hey, do you know of anybody that's looking for a team on like, any of the league nights, Thursday nights, Tuesday nights, and just kind of, get your reps in, get into the scene, start to meet people, and, your play will kind of speak for itself, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think you got to reach out to well, not just the captains, but people that that are involved in semi-pro, and then kind of see what they're doing, and hopefully you can play on that league team, like you said. So yeah, it's definitely important. I wish there was a better way to be seen as a casual or as like a league player. Tournaments used to
Yeah.
be kind of that thing. Maybe they can still be this year, but I know that the popularity of tournaments are kind of like in flux right now. So I'm not too sure what the future is for tournaments, but that used to be a good like stage to take on like newer players with potential, without much of a risk.
Right, yeah. Tournaments could definitely be a good place for that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely think people should just, like we just said, like you're a well-known, individual, Carlos, any of the other longtime vets, just reach out to them, see what kind
Yeah.
of advice
I
they can give
also
you.
I also think that right now, and maybe people don't realize this going from year to year, the pool's pretty shallow right now. So joining, I mean, that could be a big leap for some folks, but joining um, could get you on supplemental to be able to, be on a team as a supplemental player. And then, joining, reaching out, maybe even pitching yourself. I know that's a little forward, but the pool really is shallow right now. So I think that captains are looking to uh, get a mix of different players involved, at least for supplemental. I mean, also, it's summertime. People are going to be away. People are going to be on
Yeah.
vacation. People are going to have weddings. So I definitely would recommend. What do you have to lose? Put yourself out there, sign up, and reach out to captains. And because it's tough, I wish that the profile pages were better for LA Kick. Like you could
Yeah.
see where people have played, what they've won, but like what position do you play? Like how would you describe yourself as a player? Things like that might be able to help get a better feel for
Like an
certain
actual bio.
players. Yeah, an actual bio or actual like some sort of background information in regards to the different sports that they play. I mean, dodgeball has D League. I know that you wanted to do something similar for kickball, but at this point we can't because the pool's so shallow. Last year there was like 30 people, 40 people in the pool where doing a D League type thing would have worked, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
And
All right.
I think I don't want to speak for all captains, but I think there might be something attractive about someone who's like completely unknown. Like kickball is kind of a tight community in a sense, so a captain might want to bring in someone that's kind of not really been on the scene for long and kind of other teams might not know what their strengths are, and so if you could kind of capitalize on that, it could be something for the captains to get in on.
Could be. All right. Last question from me. So I tend to ask this to everyone. I call it a semi-pro moment. It's basically that moment or play that you realize when you're playing semi-pro that, wow, this is different. This is like semi-professional kickball. So that being said, and this is your third year, so most likely happened in your first year. But when was your semi-pro moment, and what was it?
Man, okay, I'm gonna have to take a minute for that.
I already know my answer for you, Steve. So
Yeah, she did. Yeah, she did mention that to me.
as soon as you said like, "What's his welcome to semi-pro moment?" I was like, "Oh, I know what it is." For me, because I've played with you and I saw you go from league play to semi-pro, so I was like, I would say that this, but you think.
Sure. Yeah. So I kind of have two answers. So my mind first went back to our first tournament where we played our first year. We played on them, and it was the very first tournament, and I played catcher for basically the entire game, and I feel like I was super busy the entire night, and after that night, I kind of just after making a lot of plays, getting 2 strikes for the runner going to first, there wasn't really one specific play, but just kind of that whole night kind of like really like felt like I really like brought me into the scene. Like I felt like I was like, wow, like this is what semi pro is about. There's kind of like there was a little bit of like an extra feeling rather than just winning like a regular league championship. The feeling of winning a semi pro is a step above that, and it just feels really good. More recently, in the most recent tournament, our first playoff game against Orbit, I had scored in the very first inning, I believe. I made my way home. I slid home, and there was just kind of this like this feeling of excitement. I forgot who I celebrated with, but I kind of like screamed pretty loud. I gave him like a good woo, and there. There's just kind of like this, like fire inside of me, as I like to say, and it kind of just it made me feel good.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So your first example was mine too. I said that when you discovered your value as a catcher, because that wasn't a position that you were playing. That wasn't a position that any dude was playing.
Yeah, exactly.
So as soon as he said, like, what do said the question to me, I was like, oh, for me, I think that Steve realized, like, this is different than league play. This is more elevated. I have a different role to play that is crucial, that is important. And like, you were killing it. Like, you were like, burning holes in the knees of your Under Armour, like sliding out on your knees, and everyone was like, "He's so fast!" Like you kind of, in my opinion, and this could just be, me being in my own world of semi-pro, but like you kind of put male catching on the map for semi-pro, and now that's like a normalized thing, right? So I think that that's very cool and kind of like a legacy moment. So
Thanks. Yeah, it's a really cool way of putting it. Putting holes in those in those socks, baby.
Yeah.
Very true.
yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, now you see it like way more of a norm. Like a lot of teams kind of, and that's what I did recently with Black Knights. I mean, having that as a strategy is like when I first started kickball. Like to me, catcher was the least important position. And
Right.
now we've kind of seen that progress into a totally different thing, and it's just really cool to
Mm-hmm.
see.
Yeah. Like you what is this saying? Like, you crawled so Tyler could run.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like
Tyler,
he's a dope
C4
catcher
player.
now,
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And through catching, but like that, you put that on the map. So I think that that's very cool.
Yeah, definitely a pioneer, and definitely glad that we were able to kind of like work that out together as a team, and definitely push the game forward. I definitely see the game evolving from a lot of things and influences that we did as a team in year one. So, and you definitely attributed to that. So that's awesome.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
And I want to say too, for your second point, because I'm just going to say it because, when thinking about who to bring on, you came to mind, a mix of male, female, whether it's captains or umpires or players or supplemental players. But your second moment that you had said, that must have felt so good. You were a player who was dropped, picked up for supplemental, and ended up winning with the team. Like proving your value, and that slide in was probably like, let's fucking go.
That's exactly it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, kind of just like a little bit of like a redemption arc in a sense.
yeah,
Like I still
yeah,
know who I am. I still know I'm a top level player, and yeah,
yeah,
exactly. You hit the nail on the head.
yeah.
Definitely. All right. Well, this concludes our interview. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully you had fun. This was a fun interview for me. I'm sure Meg feels the same way. And you know what? And semi-pro is coming up, so you know what? We'll see you on the field.
Yes, sir.
See
Thank
you
you
on
guys
the
so much.
field.
See you out there.
Bye. Okay, so that concludes our interviews for the show. Now, let's move on to what everyone loves are the highlights. Now, we're both choosing three of our favorite top three highlights from the tournament. I will go first.
Okay.
All right, coming in at number 3. This is a play for all the catcher enjoys out there. Amanda versus Chris down the first base line. Amanda cuts the call off from her bump block to make the dive and roll to capture the 2 strikes. This is the type of play that will make punters think twice. All right, at number 2, we have Kenny at pitcher. Gets a direct hit right to him at pitcher. Drops the ball, recovers with a Superman tap to first to get the out just in time. Great play. But what you don't see is boot camp halfway calling down 911 for Kenny. Good job. And for number 1, we have a play to bump block. Meg Murphy makes the tag and throws a tap for the peg at home. We love double plays. That's a great heads up play. The communication is immaculate. They must be dating or something.
Coming in at number 3, heads up play by Chris Brand on Orbit. A ground ball moving fast to the block, and he intuitively leaves the mound, quickly pounces on it, and gets the ball to 1 to secure the out, blocking down that middle. The second play is high IQ and popular in the fast pitch scene. There's no outs, Dennis on cue, and Kelly kicks the ball to center. And as he's going to do, he sees Jimmy coming for him, so he stops and backpedals, and that causes a distraction, so Dennis can score. So let's look at that again. So he sees that Jimmy's coming for him, he causes a diversion, and then you see John Bell run in, letting Dennis know, home, 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 it's safe to come home. Coming in at number 1 is a female powerhouse play. The batter sacrifices up 1. I secure the out at 1. Joanna gets the ball back to Kim, who then pegs Barbour going to 3. Something that only Kim can do with such accuracy. Look at that. Awesome play.
Okay, so those were our highlights. And now,
This next segment is about draft and trade analysis, where we will be sipping on and pouring some tea.
With
Whispers in the quiet room about who's got walking papers soon. Another roster spot in bloom. It's just that time for our tea. Pass the sugar for the bittersweet. All the closed door meetings. Oh, the taste of free agency. That tea, yeah.
Love that song. Okay, so we've had only one trade for this upcoming tournament, and that was Joe Marv from Crimson Lions over the Black Knights in exchange for Davrick from the Black Knights to the Crimson Lions. So my opinion on this is that while I understand that a move was imminent, I would have liked to seen Alex get a little bit more for Joe Marv, or at least trying to replace what she lost in the third baseman.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very happy to be playing with Joe. Obviously, I got to play with you last year. I get to play with him now. I feel very fortunate for that. But if I were the captain of the Crimson Lions, knowing that my player could drop, I wouldn't have traded him to one of the top teams to make that team stronger, even though he was saying, he had a preference of places he wanted to go to. That's being a good friend, but I'm not sure if it's being, the best semi-pro captain. I would have probably targeted the teams that were more at the bottom of the standings, because if he were to drop, he'd probably go to them anyway. So that's how I probably would have approached that, because they just made Black Knights that much stronger with Joe Marv.
Yeah.
He's a big body, he's a big boot. So
I'm sure he's very excited.
Davrick, yeah, he is. And Davrick going over to Crimson Lions, I think that is something, being that now we know what we know, right? And Tyler's no longer on that team. Davrick was catching for us, so maybe he could fill that spot there.
Yeah, we'll see what Alex has in store, but to me, I don't really understand it, but it's really up to her to figure it out. All right, so let's move on to the draft. So there was a lot of players coming into semi-pro through the draft for this tournament. The first pick, I believe, was Angel to the Crimson Lions. I think, and then also Steve Somma, who was our guest as well. I think this is a good thing for Alex. I think Angel can fill that third base spot that she lost with Joe. I think Somma can be dynamic as a catcher, which basically what Tyler was filling. And I think that they're improving with their roster with this draft, which is what it's about.
Yeah. I definitely see the improvement with the more seasoned players, but for me with that team, it's going to be direction, right? Being able to do something with these players who have experience. So it's going to come down to the leadership and the captaining, so that everybody knows what they're doing and knows what their part is, and some strategy with who's going where. So.
Right. Okay, so the next pick was Boot Camp, and they picked up Justine Betts, who I've had the pleasure with playing with on a few teams, a few draft teams. I believe I did. I think this is a really high ceiling girl. I think that's what Boot Camp needed. We're just going to see how they implement her. See where they put her in the lineup. I know that she has a pretty strong leg, so I think that's pretty welcome for them. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we are both big fans of Justine. We played with her in Freeport, played against her in Freeport. She's definitely an up-and-coming player. She definitely has a lot of power behind her kick. She moves quick around those bases. She's very strong, but she's going to, again, need some coaching for this type of format, because that's where I think She could be a great benefit to boot camp, but never having played semi-pro, it's very different than league play and different than the team she's played on in league play. So there's definitely going to be some coaching and strategy, which I'm confident that Kyle, Kenny, John Bell, Dennis, they'll be able to coach her up.
Yeah. All right, next was Rough Riders. Now, this move definitely puzzled me. Rough Riders picking up Tyler. I just don't know where he fits from an outsider's point of view. I mean, Jimmy already has 3 potential catchers that can. I mean, I'm not really sure where you put Tyler. Maybe he's in the outfield. I know that Tyler had a shoulder injury. It just seems very dangerous to put him out there. So maybe Jimmy has a plan, but I have no idea. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know either. I'm right there with you. Just because unless Jimmy's seen something from Tyler that we don't play too many leagues with Tyler. Maybe Jimmy's seen him in some other capacity that we're not aware of. But my thought was exactly the same as yours, with him primarily playing mostly catcher. Jimmy's already has 3 lady catchers, maybe pitcher. I'm not sure, and then that'll displace a female somewhere else. I'm not really sure with this draft pick and what his plans are, but it's Jimmy Hen, so he'll figure something out.
Yeah, I was hoping he would pick up like a big foot, but yeah, we'll see. All right. Then we have Black Knights. Black Knights acquired a newer player for LI Kick by the name of China Davis. Now, I heard some glowing things from Sal about China, but I have not seen her play. So I'm just gonna be a spectator. I mean, I'm gonna get to see her up front and central pretty much right away. So I can't wait.
Yeah, me too. I'm very excited to meet her and play with her and see what she thinks generally of this different style of play, this different format. But I have also heard that she's a strong player who is, competitive, and that's right up our alley. So I'm excited to have her play with us.
Yeah, not much more to say about that. Okay, so next would be Riptide. Riptide acquired Zach Zambudo and Sarah Tessa. Now, my opinion is I think Zach is a solid player, also very familiar with Riptide. He played with them last year, so that's just going to be a great fit. Sarah, I think, can add an element of a deep kicker for as a girl, sort of like similar to like maybe like a Veronica. We'll just have like that flexibility to put her in a spot where we need to sacrifice fly with an option to bunt. I think these are 2 good moves. No, I'm sad to see Rich go from our team, but I'm sure Carlos has a specific plan, and I think that they can contribute. So there's an expectation from our team. So I'm glad that we're getting some veterans that's coming in and understand what we need to do, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. In my experience playing against Carlos in all types of formats, he's a captain that would rather be safe than sorry with his teams. And what I mean by that is like he'll have 8 girls rostered for a tournament format that requires 4. Like he likes to um, have just in case and have too much than not enough. So he tends to have like a cluttered collage of experienced players, but I'm not really sure like it's good to have in case you need it, but where do these players fit in a team that's already stacked? Just I'm not sure if having these players is necessarily gonna be the complementing overlap that would be thought of with so much experience. So I'm interested to see what happens having so many players. You kind of got to have a balance at times of people knowing their roles, and then if you have too many substitutions, like if I know for me, I like to play some of the same positions. Like let's look for me. I don't typically play shortstop. Of course I can, but if I were to get some random reps at shortstop, it'd kind of throw me off. So I think he's going to have a lot of rotations in the mix, and I'm just concerned about how that's going to be for people playing somewhere new. They're experienced players, they can do it, but they're not used to it. So that's just kind of my thoughts there of just kind of oversaturating a team without specific intention. Because while Zach and Sarah are great pickups, did your team really need them? I'm not sure. So it can kind of mess with the flow of things, having too much saturated talent.
Yeah, and don't forget we're also getting back Veronica, who was missing in the last tournament. Yeah. All right, so this is not an error. Orbit didn't do anything in the draft, so they're just orbiting around the sun in this picture. So they basically stay where they are. So that is our trade and draft analysis. And lastly, we're going to get into what we feel needs to be highlighted, and those are the players that are in the pool. So we have two players that we feel that should be highlighted by the name of Alex Campos and Jess Lamano. Now, I've seen Alex Campos play a few times in Hector, and I've always been impressed. He's got a strong leg. I'm sure he's got like a deep soccer background. He seems like he is a very smart player as well. So I'm pretty confused as why no one is looking at him for either drafting or at the very least picking him up for a supplemental player. So
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll see him in the future, but like it definitely has puzzled me. We're 2 tournaments in and he hasn't even seen the field.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very confused as well as to why nobody is picking him up. And just as you said, he's got a strong foot. He's a great line drive kicker. He's a big kicker at times. Like he does have that soccer background. He's athletic. And I think he's hungry. He wants it. He's kind of one of those like players that is more underdog, newer. I think that he would really shine in this kind of format, and I'm just surprised that he hasn't been picked up. I'm surprised that some other people have been picked up over him, honestly, for either supplemental or for permanent. So I don't understand it.
Yeah, I thought he might have been a perfect pickup for Rough Riders, but it's just me.
Yeah.
And then we have Jess Lamano. I know we personally have put a lot of time practicing, playing with her. I've seen her personally rise tremendously from where she started till now. Even for the last tournament, we had picked her up for the supplemental pool. I worked with her for about an hour and a half to 2 hours before the tournament, working on some things, and she has it. So she can definitely benefit. She can definitely help a team, whether it's bunting, whether it's line drive kicking. She's a pretty solid fielder, infielder. So I mean, she's definitely a player that I would like to watch and see where she goes.
Yeah, I agree. We've played with Jess plenty, and what I love about her is that she listens, she adheres, you tell her something and she's like, okay, and she'll do it in the next moment that she has the opportunity to apply whatever has been told to her. She is versatile with batting. She just all around is a team player, and again has a strong kick, which for the ladies, you need someone who can do multiple things sometimes, because you never know when you get up to the plate what the situation is going to be. So she's someone who, if she was brought into the mix more, she would benefit herself with her experience and her confidence in playing these types of formats. But she would also greatly benefit a team. And being that she's not so known, we're talking about it now, but she does have a foot. She can catch some people off guard. And she just is all around a great player, great person. And she wants to do well. She wants to learn. She applies and learns from past situations. I can't say that for everybody. So she's definitely someone worth giving a look to.
Yeah, so captains, take notice. These are the players to watch. All right, so we're getting to the end of the show, but before we head out, I want to do a look ahead. So in the look ahead, we're going to look at the current pools for the next tournament, give our predictions, and yeah, and we'll see if we're right or not. So here we go. So we have for the pool A, Orbit, Rough Riders, and Boot Camp. And for Pool B, it's going to be Riptide, Black Knights, and Crimson Lions.
Yep. And for that first pool, that's a tough pool. We were calling that the pool of death because you got three really strong teams there, and they're going to be battling it out. I'm very interested to see those games and what happens. And being that Joe Marv and I are on the same team, one of us will probably record our game and the other one can catch another game because I really am interested to see what happens elsewhere. So we'll try to coordinate and triangulate that. And then the second pool, very interestingly enough, I'm not sure if this has ever happened before in semi-pro history, but it's definitely important to note that Crimson Lions, they're in a pool with two of the past champions of this year. So Riptide won the first tournament, Black Knights won the second tournament. They have a tough few games ahead of them.
Yeah, that's going to be a really tall challenge. Now, Crimson Lions did pick up some strong players, so that's going to help them. But I'm we'll see what happens. But it's going to really test them right off the bat. So we'll definitely love to see. I actually want to see what happens in this pool as well. So predictions. What do you predict? Who's making it? Who's not making it out of Pool A?
Well, I think out of Pool A that I've said it before, like boot camp is this close. And I think with picking up Justine, I'm really looking to see them advance. And, Orbit is solid through and through. We talked about it in the tea time, with Jimmy with Rough Riders. He's got multiple different people for catcher. I'm not really sure what's going on there. So my prediction would be, boot camp and Orbit, they seem to be more congruent, strong teams through and through. I'd love to be proven wrong because as a previous Rough Rider and a personal Jimmy Hen fan, I know that he can make the impossible happen. If anyone can, it's him. But I do see the strength that lies within boot camp and Orbit and how hungry they are for it. Not to say that Rough Riders aren't, but I'm just stumped a little bit with some of the moves there. So
Yeah, I I definitely understand what you're saying, where you're coming from. Now, I would probably have a hot take and say Orbit doesn't make it, but I think Rough Riders needed to do more, have a more impactful draft, and because of that, I actually agree that I see them not making it, even though they were just in the finals last tournament. I got Orbit coming out as the second seed from that, and I got Boot Camp coming out as number one seed from Pool A. On to Pool B. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, hold on. One quick. No, it's okay. One quick thing to note as well that we don't have access to this information, and I was looking to see if we could get this information. We don't know who's going to be missing. So that really changes things as well. We don't know. We're saying these things and making these kinds of predictions with the information we have, but we don't know who's going to be missing from boot camp or a bit rough for any of the teams. So that is a missing variable that we don't have at this time that really will change things. So
Yes, for sure.
we shall see.
Yep. All right. And Pool B is my team Riptide, your team Black Knights, and the Crimson Lions. Now, my prediction, I mean, it's not really going out on a limb to say that I believe the two former champions of the first two tournaments are going to make it out of the pool play. I just think that I want to see at least Crimson Lions put up a fight. But as far as predictions go, it's Riptide and Black Knight. I'm going to go Riptides with the top seed to avenge their semi-pro performance previously, and Black Knight with the close but second seed coming out of Pool B. What about you? What do you think?
Well, I think something that's important to note is that the BJ show will have commenced for this tournament. Cue the
Can't wait.
music.
Can't
I
wait.
think Alex is missing this tournament, so BJ is full captain mode, and if you played with him, against him, even just been in the same league, you can hear him from a different field. It is a show, and it will be in full effect for this tournament. So I agree with you from a statistics standpoint, from a data standpoint, that yeah, Riptide and Black Knights will most likely be the ones to advance forward. But there is, the BJ show is in full effect, so you never know with that. They could either do the impossible and do the not the impossible, but do the most or fall apart. So you never know. But I would have to say that we have a very tight strategy and understanding and a hunger to win another one. And I know you guys want to avenge for the last tournament. So I think that all of the players with experience on our teams who are hungry for it, it's a different hunger than the Crimson Lions. So I think it'll be Riptide and Black Knights.
Yep. Okay, so that is our look ahead. So that's going to wrap up the show. I think this was a great show. Hopefully, we'll do another one. And you know what? I would love to hear what people think. You can comment in the YouTube comments, or just stop us on the field and say, hey, I really like this, or hey, I don't like this. I love to hear what people are thinking.
Yeah, we're very open to suggestion. We're open to, we're going to be asking different people to be getting involved. We want to hear from different people. This really is a platform to represent all players, not just some. So definitely let us know what your thoughts are, what you have, any ideas. I mean, we're open to different segments, different representations. So let us know what you think.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. And that concludes our semi-pro show. Bye.
We'll see you out there. See you on the field.
See you on the field.